touch on before we get too much further is always save your project as frequently as you think of. Just get used to hitting Control S all the time after every change that you do, because you never know when you're going to add something that's going to crash. And hitting Control S is your best friend for saving your work at every state that it could be at. So just a little housekeeping here. So Groove Agent is drums. This usually I start with drums. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to colorize all these parts to be red. The first color in the setup. That way I've already started my organization right off the bat. Next I'm going to do is I'm going to call this the kick, and you can see it changes here and it doesn't change here. This is the original part name. For you to change the part name, you go up here and you change it there. Now notice that even though this is a copy of that part, so it only changes one part name at a time. If I were to change, click and hold both those and say basic kick, okay, you can select everything here. You can also say select all events, and if your track is like 15, 20, 80 bars long, select all events, it means select everything in this track. This is if you started here and selected all the way out to the end of your song and did a select. It's a really helpful tool right there, select all events. Basic kick. Now another thing you can do is if you're going to have this kick be the exact same kick all the way through, if you hold Option and Shift, you see this little equal sign in the corner. That means it's a part instance. And the difference between a part and a part instance is that if I change this guy, okay, this is an instance, a copy of this part that's linked to that part. So anytime you change this one or this one, the changes are reflected everywhere. It's like an alias part. The reason why that's important is sometimes if you copy by accident, you have multiple copies of a track or a little piece of a part like this, and you change it, well, you actually wanted that to go everywhere. Sometimes you don't. So just know that there's two different types of part copies. All right, so one of the things I want to do before we get too much farther is I want to select all these notes in the kick drum, and I want to see the velocity. And the reason is because the velocity has a lot to do with the volume. So this is another thing that I check right off the bat, is to make sure that I have 100% max velocity on that kick. And if you're playing the part through a MIDI controller, this could be all over the place. You could have some that are lower, some that are higher. So when you're playing normally on a MIDI controller, you're going to have a variation of these parts. So I usually just right off the bat, I just make sure that these are all maximum volume, and you can do it with a pencil, or you can select all these, and you can drag this up and down. I usually try to drag everything up all the way to the top and make sure it's max volume for the kick drum. Now the nice thing about having a part instance is I don't have to do that to this part too, because it's a copy of this part, or rather it's a symbol. It's a copy. It's a alias. So anything I do to this, it does it to that too. And the last little piece of info for you here is that you can drag this MIDI part into this Groove Agent folder. And this is something I like to do just to keep everything together. So now you know we have this MIDI parts here, and then this is the actual output audio. So if you notice, if I rewind this and I play it, there's audio coming out here. And then if we hit F3, it brings up the mixer. Now you can see we have a master. We have a master track. We have a stereo out track, and this master is the audio output from the VST instrument. And these two tracks here are the MIDI parts. So it's kind of weird, but it shows you right